Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to the Black Psychologist podcast. Let's get some perspective edition, sponsored by and empowered by, facilitated by the Black Psychologist Network, where we discuss all things mental health and trending topics going on in the world. I am one half of your humble and gracious host, Dr. Kyle Osborne. He is I, and I am him. And of course, you all know I'm not flying this aircraft by myself. I am here with my brother, my friend, the best colleague in the world, the best to ever do it, the man, the myth, the legend, Dr. Jason Coleman. What's going on, good brother?
What's going on, bro? Sunday, we got good weather. You can see the sun shining in here. So
Yes, sir. Yes,
I ain't got
sir.
nothing to complain about. What's up with you?
I can't call it, man. Like you said, it's Sunday, March Madness. So I'm getting a little bit of my self care in. Watching, I did my bracket a few days ago, and it's already been busted. But yeah, I've been able to catch a couple games here and there to kind of keep up with things. So I love this time of season.
Yeah, man, St. John's lost. So a
Yeah,
lot of people's bracket is busted. I don't know how Duke is doing. They was up, so but
yeah.
there's
Duke
no
is they're about to run away with it. Before we got on, I was watching that joint, and yeah, Duke is Duking. That's what they're doing.
see. So we got Duke, we got Florida. These number
Hmm.
ones are doing what they need to do. So,
Exactly.
we'll see though.
Yeah.
It's tournament time though, so you never know.
Yes, sir. What's been up with you, bro?
I'm just chilling, man. Just working hard, man. Just trying to get in that self care whenever I can. So watching these
Hmm.
games is a little bit of opportunity to do that, man. But I just been busy if we honest. But I'm good though. So with
All
you?
right. Yeah, same man, same. Baby girl just left a little while ago because she spring break is over. She's finishing up her master's program, so everything is cool.
Oh,
We get
spring
into it.
break. She headed back
Yeah,
to finish up the year, huh?
about to finish it up. Should be done in May. Yeah, had
That's
that
what's up.
master's, brother.
That's what's up.
Yeah, that's what we doing. So, but yeah, it's been a lot of stuff in the news though. Been a lot of trending stories that's been popping up. So a lot of people have been asking, trying to get our perspective on things. So I feel like it's only right that we give it to them.
All right, well, let's
Yeah.
take a look. Let's take a look at it.
So let's get into it first and foremost. All right. The track meet viral video from around the world. Right, Jay, I'm sure you've taken a look at it and seen it. Um, in Virginia, we have Miss Everett and Miss Tucker. I'm not going to get into their first or their full government names because they're still children, and I don't want to kind of get that, even though other outlets have blasted their full names. But we're just going to use the last name. So we have Miss Everett and Miss Tucker, who are both high school students. They're high school student athletes that were at a track meet. All right. So during their track meet, they were running in a 4x200 meter relay neck and neck, and literally very close as as we were rounding the corner during the race, they came as they were coming out of the curve. It's seen on camera that Miss Everett's hand with her baton in it comes down and she hits Tucker over the head, right? Like really, really takes her over the head. All right. Tucker stumbles and grabs her head. She collapses off the track. And Miss Everett, she actually finishes the race. So, just to kind of give an update, Miss Tucker unfortunately said that she has been dealing with a concussion and may have a possible skull fracture. And Miss Everett has been attempting to defend herself on local news, saying that the moment was an accident and that because of the contact between them, she said that, and I quote, "My baton got stuck behind her back like this, and it rolled up her back." And then she said she lost her balance, and when she was pumping her arms again, she got hit. All right. So yeah, so Miss Everett has been kind of going around, kind of sharing and defending herself, like in via the like all these other different news outlets. Her one of her quotes when she was speaking in front of the news with her parents said that everybody has feelings. You're physically hurt, but you're not thinking of my mental health. it's hundreds and thousands of people attacking me, and all of her family. My daughter is hurt. This is the parents talking about. So I don't care about other people's feelings. She said the daughter was like, "Hey, I'm at the end of the day, I'm still a minor too. I'm still in high school. Nobody's considering my feelings except me and my family and friends." So as it stands right now, I think I don't know if what the exact status. Again, she said she had a concussion, possible skull fraction. The NAACP has gotten involved, and then there's talk of possibly Miss Everett being possibly getting misdemeanor charges, but that's still up in the air. But
Well,
that's
I
where
think it, I just looked, I was looking at the video while you was talking. So I think that that happened already because it says high school track athlete charged with battery.
ah.
So I think it happened already. I'm gonna be honest, like the first time I saw the video, I was a little bit, like I thought it was a little bit more up in the air about whether she hit her or not, like
Mm-hmm.
purposely. When I watch it the second time, it looks a little bit more intentional, but nobody can really say, obviously, whether she slipped or fell or not. That's the excuse that she's given or the reason. And it's hard to kind of, to debate that, but all of the play by play, like, the baton got stuck in her back and then she lost her balance. I could tell you, like, I didn't see any of that, you know. Um, so it didn't really look like that. So that's a little suspicious. Also, kind of the fact that, she seems like more focused on like defending herself, which what she's entitled to do. But it seems like from the beginning they've been more focused on like, providing the reasons why it wasn't her fault rather than just saying like, yo, it's unfortunate that this person got hurt and I didn't mean to do it and leave it like that. So I think when you do that, like child or adult, it seems a little bit more less genuine. So that might be one of the reasons why she's getting the reaction that she's getting. Although obviously that's not a reason for anybody to threaten her life, and we don't want her to like, if that's happening, and we don't want her to like have suicidal ideation or depression or anything as a result. But this is what happens with these things, right? Especially online, like you have a whole bunch of people that are going to rush into your comments and they're going to make all types of statements that are usually disparaging, right? So, um,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, it's unfortunate, but I don't really think she's going to get the benefit of the doubt on this one, even if she's a kid, just because of how it looks.
I think for me it's the accountability aspect, right? Like intentional, not intentional. I've run track in high school, and I've had the unpleasure experience of like falling during a track meet, during trying to hand it off. So a lot of freak accidents and different things can happen during the course of a meet. At the same time, I think it's just that aspect where it doesn't appear, and I could be wrong, but it's just more that, hey, this happened, somebody was hurt physically. Has there been an apology, or as you mentioned, Jay, like the genuineness of, hey, taking responsibility for it? Because I really wonder what would have taken place if she and or the family just would have come out and said, I'm sorry, right? Like, it didn't mean to happen, or it did happen intentionally, whatever the case may be. What if it just from originally, it would have been, I'm sorry, right? If you look at the video, she finishes the race.
Right.
The other person, she got hit, the young lady fell off, she's grabbing her head. I'm not saying that she has to run over there and apply any type of life saving measures to her, but at least a situation where it's like hey, like some type of support, some type of care, and even immediately afterwards, like expressing that regret or that sorrow or some aspect. And I feel that I truly believe that if that was the stance, or if that would have been the immediate response, I feel like this, I'm not going to say goes away, but it's absolutely looked at or viewed a lot differently.
I
You know
don't
what I
know.
mean?
It's just strange because it just didn't look natural at all, right? Like I'm not an expert at this, but it's like when you watch races, even if you're an amateur, People get elbowed at the beginning and the end, right? People get hit with batons, bumped with batons in the beginning and the end, right? Especially like a lot of times you see people hit their own teammate with the baton when they're trying to hand it off,
Yeah,
right?
that's what I've experienced. Like that's what I
So,
did when I lost balance. You see the beat? I didn't hit
and when they're
anybody.
jostling for position at the beginning of the race sometimes, and or you know what I mean, like when they get
Yeah,
bunched up. So it happens, but you almost never, people usually don't get injured more than like a bump or a bruise, right? Because you never see like this,
yeah,
you know? So I I understand what she's saying, and I don't want to get over scientific with it, but even when you look at the video, it looks like one person hitting another person with a baton, or it looks like her handing off a baton, but there's nobody from her team in front of her, right? And when
yeah.
you hand off a baton, it looks the same way that it looks the same, the motion looks the same way as when you hit somebody, right? So it's either she's handing off a baton to me in my little mind, or she's hitting somebody with it, and there's nobody from her team that's in front of her. So
Just even from like
really
a
crazy.
parental standpoint, like being a parent or one time being a parent of a student athlete, like my daughter played tennis. And if there was any type of incident where my daughter would have been at fault for, you know, hitting somebody with the racket, with the ball, whatever the case is, and if she doesn't immediately apologize for the incident, whether it was intentional or not intentional, it's a thing where as the parent, that's where you step in and it's, hey, you need to take accountability. You need to apologize. However, it came to be, this is where I feel like also the message is getting lost, where you see the parents, and I'm totally for parents defending their kid, right? You're going to be protective of your child. I would do the same thing, but there's a manner in how you protect and handle situations such as this. You can protect your child by continuing to support them. At the same time, it's that, hey, accountability. Even if my daughter would have been like, well, I did it on purpose or I didn't do it. Hey, I get that. You have to apologize for the incident that took place, right?
Right.
You need to apologize to the person individually. You need to apologize to the family. And I truly believe that if there's an apology that takes place sooner rather than later, this at least decreases or will mitigate the impact of this spiraling out of control. And like you mentioned earlier, there's no reason or any justification for anybody, getting bullied online and death threats and things of that nature because this is still a kid, this is still a minor. But I just see oh well, I didn't do this. I'm not a person, like it's that self-preservation mode that I see. Unfortunately, the family going into coming up with all these different excuses. Like there was one video where she's saying, "I'm not a fighter. I'm not aggressive. I don't do this. I don't do such and such." Apology. What can you do to rectify and show support to the other individual, right? And so I think it's just being handled very poorly. And I feel for both parties, but at the same time, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of accountability
I
or
mean, we'll
you know
see. It might, because listen, she's still a kid. It might not even be her fault, right? Because it might be, she might be getting bad advice, right? So she might have an adult telling her, hey, get on the news or make a video and tell people, let people know, who the real you is and how you feel, right? Which might not be the best idea. And also, it might just be part of the times, right? Like younger people, like they respond and they
that's what they
communicate
do,
via their
right?
devices and social media. So it may look one way to us, but somebody else might look at the video and say, oh, she's genuine, who knows? So, I mean, she is still a kid, hopefully they work their way through it. And, you know, most importantly, the two young ladies, hopefully at some point they get a chance to kind of talk and move past it.
Hopefully so. We'll see. We'll see how this continues to progress. All right. So moving on to college. Yeah, I got some good news, man. I got some good news. If you're thinking about, or if anybody is thinking about sending your kid to Harvard, it is now free. And Harvard now has free tuition for anyone or any family that makes less than 200 grand a year. They're offering free tuition to any student of age. All right. It sounds pretty good. However, there is a catch. You
Mm-hmm.
want to know what the catch is?
What's the catch?
Still got to get accepted to Harvard. Still got to get in. All right. And I think that's the caveat. So let's get some perspective on this. While this sounds great, at the same time, you still have to get accepted into Harvard in order for you, say, if you are making less than 200 grand a year.
Hmm.
And that's the thing that I think a lot of people are losing sight of is that most people or families that get accepted to Harvard already make over 200 grand, right? Because there is a class component that's attached to individuals that get accepted into Harvard. So, um, rich people get into Harvard way more than poor people, and that's just the facts. Like it's a very small percentage of lower SES individuals that get accepted into Harvard, and I just kind of see people are rejoicing, and it's a good you know policy that they're incorporating. It's not like it's still going to be helping a lot of individuals, especially individuals that come from lower SES it's going to give them an opportunity or a vehicle to get accepted into Harvard. So sounds great, but yeah, I don't see this really being helpful to individuals that can't afford or that are less than 200 grand just because most of them that population doesn't get accepted anyway.
Well, we got they're not the only ones. Like I kind of looked it up. So MIT is free if it's less than 200 grand. UPenn less than 140. Stanford if less than 150. Columbia less than 150. Princeton 160 or less. So they're not the only ones doing it. NYU less than 100 grand a year if your family makes that. Again,
Eh,
do I think it's a good gesture? Yes. Now,
sure.
anytime you're offering a free tuition to one of these schools, that's a free gesture, right? So I'm not going to take that off the table. That's there. There are a lot of students that will take this opportunity and run with it. So I think that's a great thing, right? I think we also have to realize that. I mean, if we put it in perspective, like it's 2025, they're doing this now, right? Right. And we look at the amount of the endowments that these schools have, including Harvard, and it's really
Mhm.
like less than a drop in the bucket. You know what I mean? Um, and we got to see, like in terms of profile and demographics, like what these students look like.
There you go.
If we're being honest with you. Um, so do I think it's a good thing? I mean, obviously yes, because anything that's free is good, right? So in general, it's good. Um, but it's kind of like it kind of seems like, when you look at some of the other policies that like we don't have to get into this conversation like into the weeds, but when we look at other policies that schools are being targeted over, like especially when we look at like diversity and DEI stuff,
Mhm.
you kind of wonder like what and the overlap with that population and what stuff like this is supposed to the populations this stuff like this is supposed
Right.
to be serving. You look at like, well, what is the point? Is it just for show? So that's why I
Yeah.
said we got to see like what these recipients actually look like, but on the surface, I mean, anything free is good, right? But we'll
Yeah.
see.
I mean, and that's you got to look below the surface because here's the thing, right? Like it just doesn't necessarily mean. First of all, Harvard still only accepts, I want to say, something like 3 or 4% of all of its applicants, and it doesn't. It's not a situation where, hey, now that we're offering free tuition to people who make less than 200 grand, like, or somebody that wasn't going to be getting into Harvard, going to Harvard, is now going into it. Like, I like this. This is a great initiative. I just wish this free education was on the state level or city level, right? Because think about it. Think about if this was offered to some of the state schools or some of the city schools or HBCUs, right? But this, what I feel like would be more appropriate, will open up the doors for free education for individuals of middle class or lower SES, right? Because those are, if we're looking at the numbers, those are the individuals that are absolutely getting into the state schools. Those are the individuals that absolutely their parents or they're coming from a household that are less than 200 grand give them that initiative. right? So that's what I wish, like, if you were able to do that for some of the city or some of the state schools across the country, because you named all of those Ivy League schools. You mentioned UPenn, you mentioned Columbia, you mentioned Princeton, you mentioned, I mean, Stanford is not an Ivy League, but it's up there. Stanford, I remember, had a reputation when I was doing college stories where for baby girl, they take pleasure in saying that, well, we rejected people that try to get into Ivy League. So Stanford also has a very high criteria in regards to acceptance. So I feel
Mhm.
like this initiative would be more appropriate, and we would see it actually helping individuals from not so great backgrounds financially on the state and city level. Like, give that free tuition, because then I guarantee you would see more of an impact um,
I
for
mean, listen,
education or for students.
I wouldn't disagree with you, you know, but the problem is I don't even know. See, this I don't even know how long this is going to be around, right? Because you look at the quote, it says putting Harvard within financial reach for more individuals widens the array of backgrounds, experiences, and perspectives that all of our students encounter, fostering their intellectual and personal growth. That's how Harvard feels, right? But, and I'm being a little bit facetious here, but if the White House hears about that, this program is gone because they don't because that's a fancy way of talking about diversity. You understand what I'm saying?
So
And there's war on the schools right now. So that's why I said I want to see who benefits with it from this program, meaning like what their profile looks like, bro.
yeah,
You know what I
I
mean?
would love to. Yeah.
Because you're at because you currently we're in, and I don't want to go into the weeds, but I'm just like, we're in a climate where the federal government is stripping away dollars from, businesses and schools and different places that they feel are focused on areas that they don't value. And that, when you say widens the array of backgrounds, experiences, and perspectives, right? That is describing a diverse environment, right? And we've seen, and we don't have to go through the examples, we've seen a lot of big universities on the same level of Harvard, you know what I mean, lose hundreds of millions of dollars, right? And come back and restructure programs to appease the government. So that's why I said I don't know if something like this will even be around next year. This is an article that came out whenever, but the wrong people get wind of this, it could be gone. So
I
we'll see.
think I don't know if it'll last long. I definitely want to see the numbers. I mean, even with this initiative, like, the schools aren't lowering their standards, right? Like, they're not lowering the bar or anything. Like, you still have to get accepted. That would be my question of, well, I wonder how many people. What's the current percentage of people of color? Like, if we're going to look at like a diversity aspect of how many of those individuals are getting accepted into Harvard anyway, and it's like, oh, well, they got accepted, they just can't afford to. That would kind of also be my question. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
because I'm gonna be very honest with you, I don't think the standard is the problem. I think it's the price. It's plenty of people on Hampton's campus, Howard's campus, Meharry's campus, you know what I mean? Plenty of schools around the country that people have no problem surviving at Harvard. You know, they do they do the swaps all the time. What is it called again?
mm,
I'm sorry.
yeah,
When you
I can't think of the that initial of that program, but I know
when
what
you
you're
go to
referring to.
another university,
Yeah,
my man, he spent like 2 semesters at Duke.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when our debate team and these, different organizations, when they have their, competitions, it's against Harvard and Yale and all of these other places. So it's not a problem of being able to survive. I just think it's the environment, right? And I think it's the price. I don't think you'll
Listen,
have, you know what I mean? Like if they really wanted to find talent, whether it be of color or specifically Black, African American around this country, that's what they really wanted to find and take
mhm.
care of those students, take care of their experience, you know what I mean? Support their experience. They could find them. They're just not, it's not something of value to them. And it doesn't matter. I mean, I don't think the students care. They're gonna find that home, you know, at Cheney or at Howard or you know or at Hampton. But
Mm-hmm.
nobody's gonna convince me that those students that you sat next to that I sat next to couldn't survive at Harvard. Why not?
All right. I
You
tell
know
you
what I
what,
mean? I
man.
mean, they're not just so like why not? You know what I'm saying? Like these are the same kids that at the same law firms working with my colleagues. You know, they're sitting across the bench from my bros. They're working in, you know what I mean, in the same buildings as my homeboys that I went to school with. So I think it's the price. I mean, you know,
I think also they said if you're making less than 100 grand, you get free room and board. I tell you this. I wish this would have been great about what was it,
it's starting to look
2020?
better.
Yeah, because listen, we went on a tour. Like baby girl wanted to, we went on a tour at UPenn when we were doing our college tour, and she was either a junior or a senior. I know I want to say it was a junior year because this is right before COVID. I mean,
Mhm.
a year later with COVID. But yeah, we went on a tour for at UPenn just because it was there. And listen, if they would have had this, I absolutely would have put more pressure on her to apply. Like she went, we
Boom.
kind of just went in different things, and we trust me, we definitely would have fit that criteria.
But that's my point. That was the point I was making before, right? And we don't have to get into the specifics, but you know your daughter's pedigree,
Yeah,
right? In terms of what school she went to, all of these things, she could survive at any of these schools that I mentioned. Now,
she
whether
about
or
to do
not she would want to be there is a whole nother discussion. You know what I mean? But
very true.
she could survive at Harvard, Howard, Yale, Princeton, whatever. You know, and that's what I meant. Like, it ain't about like yo, the black talent couldn't survive there. That's BS because you know me and you like we around the people that you know um would be able to survive in that environment. So again, there's a lot of layers to it, but we'll see how you know what happens to it because you know we're going through a lot of changes in this country, man. So we'll see if stuff like that survives.
We'll see. Yeah, Jay, there was a video that went around maybe about 2 or 3 weeks of the my guy from the who used to be the owner of the turkey leg hut.
Okay.
And he had some choice words for his employees. Let me pull this up real quick so you can get a good idea of this. Hold on.
8 o'clock in the morning, turn your phone in as soon as you hit that door. I'm not gonna tell y'all. As soon as you hit that door, turn your phone in. Why? Because you're on my clock here. I'm telling y'all from this point on, it ain't by catching y'all at home. If I catch you after 9 with your phone, you're fired. And take it for what it is. And I'm gonna take what come with it. And I'm telling you what it is. So I'm telling you, from tomorrow on, if you get that tap from one of the managers, I'm not gonna play with your fire.
So as you
All right, there you go. Words of leadership. Let's get some perspective on this one, Jay. What's your takeaway from this?
Well, one thing I thought was interesting was that there was a young lady, I don't know if she was on the staff or like part of management, but she was actually on her phone while he was talking, right in background.
And you got somebody recording the whole thing.
So, you know, I mean, I don't know. Listen, I don't want to be one of these people, but like it seems like what are they this is like quick fast food,
Probably, I imagine.
right? And like a bar type of thing. I
Yeah.
understand why he doesn't want people on their phone. You can't have people like on their phone while they're working, right? But you're not like thinking you're gonna collect people's phones. Like you can't even, they don't even do that in the hospital. You know what I mean? So it's like they don't even do that in places where you could try to do that. The only places where I really see them doing that is like people that work in jails. And that's because they
Hmm.
got insurance and you know, security reasons.
Right.
But he sounds like a man that has just had it up to here, you know. And sometimes when you're an adult and he really just sounds like he needs some time off or somebody he should have tagged out and let his partner take over. You know what I mean? The assistant manager or whatever, because sometimes when you're working with like younger people or kids or whatever, you got to know your workforce. Obviously, his workforce does not have a passion to be there. It's a job to them. So it might
Hmm.
be his business. He might be trying to do better every day, whatever, but I think you gotta approach that more from like, how are you gonna put things in the environment where you can encourage them to not be on their phone strongly, right? So I don't know whether that's a fine, I don't know what it is, but him saying like, yo, if you get that tap on your shoulder, you fired, like it's the Godfather or something. Like, it's just
Right.
not. First of all, you're already losing employees. Second, it's a fast food job. It really sounds like. So it's not saying like that people shouldn't have integrity, but it's like, know your audience, bro. You know what I mean? Like, you got a bunch of kids, they probably working, after school or whatever the case may
Right.
be. It's not their business, it's not their small business. So you got to approach it accordingly. And again,
Yeah,
they
there
weren't taking him serious because they was recording and on the phone as he was talking.
yeah. There are better ways to communicate that your establishment has a zero tolerance policy, right? Because that's essentially what he's trying to say, is that anyone in regard phones or anyone being on their phone will not be tolerated, right? Will result in some type of immediate termination or consequence or what have you. There are better ways to do that, right? Like you can communicate in an assertive manner, or you're going to communicate in an aggressive manner. This is an aggressive manner, right? Where you're absolutely, people are not going to be receptive to this. You're taking consideration. These are probably individuals that are making. I mean, if it's food or fast food or some type of, you're not getting paid very well anyway. You're probably talking about, if you're dining in, the waitresses or hostess are making that much money, or cashiers, whatever the case may be. So I feel like he absolutely needs to adjust the manner of how he's relaying this message. Now,
I
at the
believe
same time, I'm not mad at the message, for the reason that I could be a little bit more old school. I'm not in favor of, like, if you're working, that you're on your phone, or even like the earpieces that like I'm using. I'm a little bit more old school from that, because we come from a time where that wasn't the case, and when, of course, I understand that we're in a different time now. At the same time, I do know where I do not see people on their phones or at work. You want to know where that is? Chick-fil-A. You've never gone into a Chick-fil-A and you've seen anybody not be attentive. You've never seen anybody at the cashier on their phone. You never see anybody that's even, they're busting the table, they're cleaning up.
bro,
You don't
what do you
see.
think is
And
different about the work environment?
I think it's the culture, right? Very for one, and that's what I mean. There's a difference. Like, you can impose a culture or facilitate a culture, a zero tolerance policy culture, without you yelling at, like, your what I mean, your personnel. Like, you can tell them straight up, or even when you're doing interviews with individuals, like, the Chick-fil-A culture is the same no matter where it is, whether you're in the suburbs, whether
Yo, that's
you're in
interesting, yo. That's very interesting.
like, if you notice, you won't see there's a vast difference between Chick-fil-A service and the culture that's there than you going to Burger King or like McDonald's. They
You're
have a
right, because
culture
it's wherever it is.
wherever it is. Doesn't matter. Like, that's the culture that they cultivate. And I'm sure they've had that discussion, like, hey, mistakes or being on the phone won't be tolerated, but they're not in a point where you got the manager just talking to people like, yo, we having a morning, get around, yo, listen, you on your phone, you out of here. Like, that's not what's happening. You see what I mean? And it's very, I've seen it. You have an enriched environment, you're gonna have enriched behaviors. That's simply the way it goes. But the same way, you got to treat your employees with respect and talking to them like in that particular manner. That you're not going to be able to retain anybody, and people aren't going to take you seriously. So I get where he's coming from, and I'm agreeable to the culture that he's trying to enforce or cultivate, but he's going about it all wrong. And like you said, like, there's clearly no respect if people, or whatever you're saying you don't want them to do, they're doing it right in front of you. You know
Yeah,
what I
like
mean?
they're like, come on.
You know what I mean?
That
So
was funny. The girl was right in back of him, or the woman was right in back of him, like,
right there, yeah, like, what are we doing? What are we doing? So, but yeah, I like the message, and I see what he's trying to do, but you got to go about that differently, and no one's gonna respect that or adhere to that, bro. So, but yeah, that was that's funny. We'll see how long that lasts at that spot. You know, speaking of food, before we get out of here, Jay, it's always important that we continue to give people decent food recommendations that are going to be in accordance with their mental health. All right. So
Okay.
you've heard of how an apple a day may keep the doctor away, right? You're familiar with that.
I've heard.
All right. So now research has showed through a recent study that an orange a day may keep the blues at bay. You see them rhyme skills? Bars, Jay? Yeah, I
Orange a
mean,
day keeps the blues at bay, huh?
you like that, right? Yeah, I know.
No,
All right.
I mean that's you need it
I'm,
needs some work, but I hear you.
I might trademark it. We'll see what happens. All right. So recently in a study, Dr. Raj Mehta, hope I'm saying his name correctly, a physician and instructor at Harvard Medical School. Oh, look at that. Look at the way this is rocking. See? There you go.
We were just talking about it.
Talking about it. All right, at Harvard Medical School, and his colleagues analyzed the data of over 30,000 women and found that those that consumed a lot of citrus were much less likely to develop depression than those who didn't. They found that eating one medium orange a day may lower the risk of developing depression by about 20%. They mentioned that the effect seems to be specific to citrus, and when they looked at people's total fruit and vegetable consumption, or at any other individual fruits such as apples and bananas, they didn't see any relationships between the intake and the risk of depression. Researchers discovered that eating more citrus was associated with increased levels of a beneficial gut bacterium called Faecalibacterium prausnitzii. All right. Yeah. Okay. Which is known for its anti-inflammatory properties, but might also help with serotonin and dopamine, which make their way to the brain. They also acknowledged that their study had certain limitations, of course, as the participants were white, middle-aged women, and additionally they were with control of several factors. But there's still the possibility that their findings were correlational rather than causal. I mean, rather
Okay.
than casual. So listen, so eating an orange, a lemon, or a fruit, it's whatever you prefer. I mean, if you look at it, eating citrus doesn't really have any major side effects. So if you're doing that per day, I don't see how it can't hurt. And again, it continues to shine a shed light on the relationship between the gut and the brain. So um, I like this for the aspect of it's low risk, right? It's not like if you're overindulging or if you're doing an orange or anything a day that it's going to have some maladaptive or significant side effects. And I also like the aspect of we're starting to find more research in regards to preventative measures for depression or for anxiety. You know, and I know, um, unfortunately, like some of the medical ailments, typically you don't start taking medicine for depression or anxiety until you start to experience it, right? Like you're not going to start taking an antidepressant before you experience any type of depression issues. Unlike, say, in some issues in the medical field, you can take certain pills to prevent X, Y, and Z or lower your
Right.
risk of. So I like, and I'm excited that we're starting to make some headway in, hey, these are some different things that you can do that can help lower your risk for some of these mental health issues. Um, and so, yeah, I'm excited about this. I hope they continue to garner more information. I know I'm going to the supermarket right now, right, to
Mhm.
go get these oranges, and I'm about to overindulge in them. I might do 2 oranges a day. I don't know.
I mean, listen, I agree. Like we know, again, when you talk about your mental health, it extends past like just like therapy sessions, right? And even coping skills, right? You kind of want to wrap things around, that includes your diet.
Hmm.
So again, we incorporate things without even thinking about it sometimes. So whether that be like chamomile tea, in terms of like trying to calm yourself down, or what do they talk about with the salmon and they've been talking about research with omega-3
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, omega
um,
threes. Yeah,
omega-3
the amino
fatty
acids.
acids.
Then it's the
Um,
amino acids. Yeah.
right. Dark greens. I think there's something with supporting cognitive health. I've heard the same thing about like berries and what you were talking about, like with citrus fruits. So
Antioxidants
again,
and things.
I'm a believer in like any little edge that you can get. So even when it comes to managing your mood with like aromatherapy and different scents and candles and different things like that, I'm always encouraging that, as long as people cover the main bases that, you know, we know that there's more support for. So I agree with you. I
Yeah,
agree with what you're talking about.
it's definitely taking a more comprehensive approach in regards to incorporating your diet. If you look at it, there's always been a relationship with food and with mood. If
Right.
you We talk about comfort food. So people will always go get these other different foods or snacks and things because it says comfort food. So if you're talking about comfort food, it makes you feel better depending on whatever situation or circumstances, right? These foods make you feel better, whether they're healthy for you or not. They still label as comfort foods, and it does something for you psychologically. So think about it now if you're getting into a place where you're actually eating the fruits and vegetables or other different healthy foods that'll actually really have that biological advantage for you. So I remember like my dad, like growing up, right, my dad used to drink like the grapefruit juice, but like the store brand, like the from concentrate. And that thing was horrible, bro.
Yeah, yeah, it's horrible.
Like like the that and he would have like a gallon of it. And I drunk it one day because he was getting ready to go food shopping, so there was nothing in the crib. So I was thirsty. You know what I mean? Like I was thirsty. I went to the fridge and I never had it before. I was like, let me take some of Pop's juice. Listen, bro, you want to talk about a taste aversion? That thing traumatized the hell out of me. And I was saying, like, how does he drink this, man? The thing was terrible. And I'm under the impression that anything that terrible and that bitter, there has to be some type of nutritional and psychological benefits to it, bro. Because like it can't, nothing on earth could taste that bad and it doesn't do something for you. Like
I
you know what I mean?
believe it.
You know what I mean? My dad's he's pretty even kill, so I'm thinking maybe it worked out.
No, I believe it, man. Like,
Yeah, this is something I'm happy they're continuing to make advances in preventative measures as in regards to food and mental health. And so yeah, look, I'm definitely gonna indulge in some oranges there. So we'll see how it goes.
give me some
Any
oranges too. I'm making my list as we speak, you know.
there you go. There you go. Anything else before we get out of here, good brother?
Nothing much, man. Of course, we just want to thank everybody that, you know, has been hanging with us. And we're gonna be back, you know, with more content soon. So, you know, enjoy your weekend, enjoy your week, you know, and make sure you practice good mental health.
Absolutely. All right, Jay. You be safe. Have a great week. And to everybody else out there, wishing everybody good mental health. See you next time.
All right, bro. Next time.
Yes, sir.